What's up, everyone? Frogimago here, and today I'm joined by Portland Stu from the Sorcery 102 podcast to break down the Gothic limited format. In this video, we're going to cover everything you need to know before your next draft or sealed event. We'll explain the new mechanics, talk about the speed of the format, what your mana curve should look like, rank every element, discuss the strongest element pairings, when you should splash. We're going to talk about some sites, and we'll finish by discussing where Gothic fits among Sorcery's other limited formats. Everything we're talking about today comes from hundreds of drafts and months of testing, so it comes from a mix of personal experience and data-driven results. Hopefully it gives you a head start the next time you sit down to draft Gothic. Whether you're brand new to Gothic or you've already drafted it many times and want to improve, this should give you a solid roadmap for approaching the format. How's it going, Stu?
It's going good. I'm so excited to be here. Some big shoes to fill. You've had some great guests do these with you before. I'm so excited to get to be here for it.
Yeah, I really appreciate you being here. I'm sorry we've never collaborated before, but I'm trying to do more collaborations, so it's really cool. I know like a lot of content creators are so focused on constructed, it's kind of hard to find someone who's like actually an expert in limited. So yeah, I really appreciate you joining.
I'm obsessed with limited. Like I would much rather just do limited content though. On Sorcery 102, definitely our watch count goes down whenever we do a limited video. So I think our audience is more interested in other stuff for now, but we'll still keep doing limited content periodically.
Yeah, it's hard out there. So we're going to start with the first topic. So how does Gothic feel? So I want to just give like kind of a brief overview of the Gothic format to give some context for the rest of the conversation. So I just have a bunch of points written down here. We can go through each of them and talk a little bit about each one. The first point I had is that the curve feels a lot healthier than Beta and Arthurian Legends. Like I think you can actually just draft like a legit curve and it feels really good. So
it's so much easier to get a 24 card deck together, definitely than Beta. AL, it was still pretty easy to have a playable deck, but it was less exciting. And Gothic, yeah, there's a lot of different cards, but the packs aren't like half unplayable trash, which is great.
Yeah, there's just like a lot of good minions, and also like they finally figured it out that we need a bunch of 3-power minions. Like that was really important, and they didn't really have a good balance, especially in Beta. There was like one in each element. But yeah, they did such a good job with that.
And they printed the draft shaft too. Like there are a lot of cards in Gothic, especially at ordinary rarity, which you'll never see in constructed, that are essential to the limited formats.
All right, next is more balanced elements. So yeah, from Beta, like if you've drafted that much, you know that water is just like complete garbo. Like no one wants to be in it. Maybe 1 or 2 people in an 8-person pod will be in it, when like really there should be like 4 people in each element. And then yeah, like Arthurian Legends, like Earth was good, but it's really shallow. So like again, it's like maybe 2 or 3 people could draft it. In this format, it's like I kind of expect there to be 4 people drafting every element. Maybe like there's one, like the worst element probably has like 3 people to 4 people or something, but definitely way more balanced than all the other formats.
Yeah, strongly agree.
And then I said that stickier minions are present in this format than others because of Ward, of course, but there's also like good answers to the sticky minions, or just like minions in general. I don't know. Like I think there's a good balance between how strong minions are and how strong the removal is. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's one thing I noticed is like the removal is less swingy in this format. Like there's not as much really potent mass removal, and definitely none at like there's no Poison Nova or Whirling Blades level stuff. You're not going to get overpowered removal that's easy to draft. Like you might get a Call of the Sea, but even that's like so expensive that it doesn't feel as swingy with the removal as it can in the other formats.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I hadn't really thought about that. But yeah, there's a lot more like 1-for-1 removal. And that feels really good because you don't just get blown out by a lava flow and then you just lose the game straight up. Like
yeah, exactly. Like Flame Strike, I guess, could get it. Like there's things that can get 2-for-1s, but they're hard to set up, and your opponent has to have sort of played into the trap pretty hard. Whereas like, yeah, Snowball and Lava Flow in AL were really easy to get copies of because there was such a small set. It left a lot of blowout potential.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I actually think like maybe the lesson from that is maybe Gothic, you actually want more minions than removal compared to another format, like what we're used to. Another topic is like slower gameplay compared to Arthurian Legends for sure. It might be a little bit faster than Beta. We'll get into that, but it's less tempo oriented. Like this just feels like a good like mid-range format. Like it's pretty standard. Like I think this is going to be kind of like a baseline speed until the next set. Like we'll see how it it compares to other things. But
Yeah, Gothic is where they finally landed on the limited format, feeling like you expect a limited format to feel. Definitely beta just felt wonky, and AL was so swingy and like as soon as someone lanced and killed something, it was like, okay, well, they're in the driver's seat and this game is over, even though we're both at 15 life or whatever.
board control is king is the next topic. Yeah, I think it's really just like playing minions and removal. Like, don't do all this fancy stuff. I feel like the board gets gummed up a lot. So then, if you just have more power on board, often that's the thing that's going to determine who's going to be able to win the game.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that more, I think, later. Gothic has a lot of room for tempo, but I expect like 40% of my games, even if I'm leaning into tempo, to sort of settle into a very parity state.
Synergies exist finally. I'm really excited about that. Like, we didn't really have synergies in our other formats. Like, we had cards that paired well with other cards, but not to the extent that we have in Gothic, where there's just like a mortal build around theme. There's an undead build around theme. Like, we actually have like themed decks sometimes that come together. And I think that's a huge win. Some of the synergies didn't work out. I think, especially in water, there's some cards that want you to do a specific thing that's just like way too hard to do, basically. They're definitely taking a step in the right direction for us limited players, where they're just putting like a bunch of exceptionals into the set that want to be around these other like ordinary cards to make you have like a really dynamic draft experience where you actually want to draft around specific cards and not just take whatever the best card in your elements is.
Yeah, that's a really good. Yeah, that they're really like, especially once you're past pack one, you're not just picking the best card in the pack each time. You can build around in some significant ways, but not in such a significant way that it becomes what you have to do, or like, it's like, oh, I didn't get one of the combos, so now my deck's no good. It's like, no, you can just sort of draft a solid, on curve, good minions, good removal deck, but there's also a lot of room for build around.
Yeah, totally. Like, most of the time, you probably are just taking the best card in the pack, but there's a lot
Hmm.
more to think about in this format compared to the other ones. Which brings me to my final point, which is really just like, I think this is a huge evolution for Limited. Like, it was such a huge win. They did such a good job with this set, and I really hope that they continue the trend, because I feel like basically I've liked every set more than the previous set for us Limited players. So it's going in a good direction.
Yeah, strongly agree. If only they would tell us what the next set's going to be already.
I know, right? God. Exceptional avatars and set mechanics is my next topic. I kind of put them together because some of the avatars really highlight the set mechanic really well. We'll just start with Necromancer. So Necromancer is the avatar that everyone knows. It's like maybe the best avatar ever printed, definitely the best limited avatar ever printed. It has the ability you can pay 1 mana to make a skeleton token. So skeleton tokens are 1 power undead. When you make a ton of them, like you can with Necromancer, they can get pretty oppressive. So
Necromancer always wins if the game goes long enough. Is sort of like against a non-necromancer. It's just like value over time. And it's got crazy build arounds, right? So it leans into
yeah.
this undead mechanic, which I'm sure is what you're gonna say, is like there's 4 different minions that have a recurring from the cemetery if you sacrifice a skeleton token ability. There's a number of cards where you want to sacrifice minions to cast them, and like, so there's just a lot to do with your skeleton tokens.
Yeah, I think like the underrated part of Necromancer is the fact that it expands the pool of playable cards that you can play. Like Torch and Pitchfork can just work with Necromancer. Like Witching
Hmm.
Hour is just always online. Like
Yeah,
yeah, there's just so many cards that you would never really consider playing or like are like fringe playable and then they just become like busted in Necromancer. Like Bone Spear is another one, Gift of the Serpent's another one, like anything
hmm,
that you just want undead or evil or just a bunch of minions, like it just solves so many problems and it just makes
yeah.
it so you can just draft like no one else.
And it's in every element. It works. Like it, Necromancer, when you first look at the set, looks like it wants to be Earth Air because that's what's got the like obvious like use your skeleton token cards. But actually, there's cards that benefit from Necromancer in every element.
All right, is that good on Necromancer? Do you want to talk
Yeah,
about Savior?
yeah, sure. Savior's. I love Savior. Somehow I end up drafting Savior a lot. It always does really well. Like if we were in a competitive, like high stakes drafting scenario, I think Necromancer and Savior are the 2 top pack one pick one cards to me. Like I no matter how good any other bomb in the set is, you can't really beat having an avatar with just infinite value on it. Savior is harder to play than Necromancer is always good. If you get it pack 3, pick one, you get your skeletons. But yeah, so Savior, its ability is you may pay 1 to ward a minion that was played this turn, which there's no limit to how many times you can do that, nor how many times per minion. So it goes really well with Wild Fanatic. I think Wild Fanatic is the only charge minion that's not evil, because you can't ward evil. But
Yeah, maybe Stagecoach, is that immortal?
oh yeah, you're right. Stagecoach too, it can happen. But also just you can play like late in the game. Sometimes you're dropping 2 or 3 minions with wards on them, and it makes your
Yeah.
minions like as soon as your opponent has spent a card to remove a ward, Savior has outvalued Spellslinger. And if they do it twice, then you're getting crazy value. I think the other thing is you want to have, it does require a build around, unlike Necro, where you do need to get that critical. Like if you don't have at least 7 non-evil minions, I probably wouldn't play Savior. I think that's kind of my line I've settled on.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, it also has a similar thing to Necro where it like expands the playable pool of cards, not by the extent that Necro does, but there's like Revered Revenant, there's Plague Rat, there's
Hmm.
like the Townsfolk, there's
Yeah,
things like Divine Lance. That's like most of them, I think, is pretty much that. Like I think Necro has like even more than that, but yeah, Savior, yeah, definitely harder to play, requires a build around, but still just like one of the best cards in the set. And yeah, I
yeah,
didn't say it before, but Necro is like without a doubt the card I will take if I ever see it in a pack. Like no matter where I am in the draft, no matter what my deck looks like, Necro is the best thing that you can take out of that pack. Like you should never
yeah.
ever pass a Necro unless maybe you already have a Necro. Like
And even then, you should probably just take
yeah.
it so that no one else gets a Necro.
All right, so moving on from that, we have Persecutor. So Persecutor is a 2-power avatar that says once on your turn, you can take a step toward the nearest evil, or you can brand one of your enemy's units so that your cards treat them as evil. So, like for example, there's just a card that says banish an evil minion somewhere, begone, and you could just like brand their regular mortal minion as evil and then banish it.
Yeah, and you can
And then there's just
brand
cards
their
that
warded, like you can brand their Archangel Angel that's got a ward as evil and banish it through the ward with Begone. Like,
mhm. But yeah, Persecutor, this is an interesting one. It requires more build around than Savior. And I think it's weak to Savior. I think you had that in your notes too. Like
yeah,
it's not a great matchup against Savior. So it's really good when fully built around, basically. Like I think the deck is wanting to have like 4 power or less minions. Like you don't really want to go definitely not above 5, but even trying to draft a deck that doesn't have any 5 drops, I think is really good.
yeah,
Because you just want to be able to start attacking with your avatar, like attacking their 2-power minions, attacking their sites.
yeah. I
Yeah.
don't think we mentioned that Persecutor has 2 power. Makes a so you can clear 2 power minions off the board without spending a card. You're just kind of using life as a resource with Persecutor. Yeah, I think it's so. I love drafting and playing Persecutor and Sealed as well. It definitely requires build around. I think it's good into Necro because Necro's skeletons give you mobility, and so you kind of get to your movement. Like if they use their ability, you get your free movement, and then it's like, oh, take 1 damage and kill a skeleton if you're worried about the skeletons, but also Necro wants to slow the game down, and Persecutor is really good at speeding the game up. And that's like the key to beating Necro is to like win fast. And Persecutor is the best at doing that.
Maybe Persecutor is like kind of the perfect deck to take down
Yeah.
Necro because yeah, you really do want the game to end as soon as possible if you're playing Persecutor. Kind of funny to note, like I think it is like Necro's the best, then Savior, then Persecutor, and they also are like easiest to play, like kind of intermediate to play, more difficult to play. So it's
Yeah.
like kind of a hard break there.
Yeah. And they're
But
kind of rock,
yeah,
paper, scissory, but like
yeah.
not into the rest, like into each other. I think it's like Savior beats Persecutor, Persecutor beats Necro, Necro beats Savior. but then into everything else, it's just like Necro and Savior are a tier above Persecutor.
And then do you want to introduce Harbinger? You might have more
Yeah,
thoughts about it than I do.
yeah. Harbinger is the fourth of the exceptional avatars. I mean, the reason we're talking about all of these is because they show up at exceptional rarity. So there's a pretty high chance in a draft pod that a couple of these will be going around. And Harbinger, its ability is at the start of the game, you randomly select, usually by rolling a dice, three different squares on the board. And once per turn, you can cast your minions to any of those squares, regardless of if you have a site there or not, for one less mana. And so it's the gambler's avatar. I've definitely seen it work in limited, and I've seen it not work in limited, and I don't think that's a reflection of anything but luck. Like when you get their starting site as one of your rolls, you feel great because then you're dropping your 2-drop turn 1 on their face and your 3-drop turn 2 on their face, and but then a lot of games it's not really worth a whole card to just have a discount. Like if you don't sort of get tempo and dominance off of it out the gate.
Yeah, like you always have to remember you're down a card compared to Spellslinger. So you have to be able to
Mhm.
make up for that. And Harbinger, like at no point are you really up a card. It just is your up tempo, maybe if you get a good roll. As it is right now, like I think it's basically a mistake to play Harbinger. Like I don't think there's really enough build around potential to really make it work.
I think that's it for the exceptionals, but there are other avatars in the format. They show up at elite and unique rarity, and I'd say the general statement is in standard Gothic limited. Probably don't play any of them.
Yep, totally agree. Yeah, like I thought maybe early in the format, like Interrogator might be good if you have this like really aggressive list or whatever, but it just, your opponent might just choose the thing that you don't want them to choose and they'll just like take some extra damage but be able to stabilize or something. Like the fact that you're down one card is a pretty big deal. So, yeah, I don't think you can really make Interrogator work. Like the one card I thought of early in the format was like, oh, Hot Wheel is going to be really good for this because it like automatically rolls into your opponent. But then it's like, what if they just like take the 3 damage if they can afford it and then just like play a 3-power minion on top of it? It's like, yeah, you didn't really get much benefit out of it.
Yeah, I agree. Interrogator looks tempting, but it never really works out. Like if you get one card off of it, then it's met Spellslinger, but you probably put a minion in a less than optimal position to do that. And that's, I think, what, like, you talked about board state being king, and like you end up having to pull yourself into bad board positions to try and use that avatar ability, and that's, I think, the biggest problem with it. The Animist is the one that always feels really tempting as a potentially good non-exceptional avatar, because then all of your spells can be on rate minion, or all of your like Animist, you can cast any magic as a minion with power equal to its casting cost. It seems like it should make having a really good curve. Flexibility feels like it should be good, but Gothic is so balanced that you can always make a deck with a good curve, and then you're losing a card. So it just ends up actually being a mistake to run Animist.
Yeah, I agree. I actually like pretty early on, I looked at all of the magics and tried to like see is there like a specific element pairing that maybe this would work with. And unfortunately, it's like I think there's only one magic that costs 4 mana at ordinary, which is like, 4 mana, 4-power minion's great, but it's like Smite is also like one of the best cards to just cast as the magic. So like
Yeah.
that doesn't really work out. And then like Fire has Wreaths and Righteousness, which like is kind of like somewhat of a mediocre removal spell that like would be awesome to have that flexibility. So that's like the one like perfect card to point to be like if you're in
Yeah.
Fire and you have like multiple Wreaths and Righteousness maybe or something. Otherwise, it's like, yeah, maybe there's some elite or unique magics, but even those are probably like really powerful magics that you don't want to just play as vanilla minions. So,
Yeah.
yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't really work out.
Maybe in a bad sealed pool where you have Animist, it's the right choice, right? Like where you don't have the minions to have a good curve, and so you can use Animist to solve that. But so yeah, that's it. The only other fun thing is Magician. I have seen people run Magician in limited, and you get to just build a 24 card spell book with magics and sites, and it's
Hmm.
still a mistake. Magician's always a mistake, but
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, that is a fun one to think about because it's like, yeah, I can cut the 8 worst cards out of my deck and put a bunch of sites in. Like, that sounds really
hmm
good, but yeah, the fact that it doesn't like tap to do anything
yeah,
just seems terrible. All right, and then I was gonna mention like Ironclad plus Makeshift Barricade because that was something that I like saw someone do once and I was like, oh my god, that's really cool. And then they like lost. And then I saw someone else do it, and then it was like, oh, that's cool. I'm seeing it again. They lost. Like, it just doesn't really work out. Like, they're
yeah,
the combo is you put Ironclad and Makeshift Barricade on the same site, and then when you're at Death's Door, they have to attack your avatar, but then Makeshift Barricade prevents the damage, and it makes it so that it only gets removed if there's 5 or more damage on the avatar, which is like pretty hard to do.
yeah,
But you also like have to win somehow, and you could just get decked out at some point if you're not actually like progressing the game. So yeah, I don't really believe in the combo, but it's really cool.
yeah. I mean, that's ironclad and constructed too. I just feel it's so hard to not make ironclad decks where like your best case scenario is a bunch of draws.
All right, so yeah, that's pretty much the lesson there. Just don't play any of these unique or elite avatars in the set. Like, just ignore them. Like, only play the
Yeah,
exceptional ones, and probably don't play Harbinger. If you're really new to the game, maybe don't pick up Persecutor because it's pretty hard to play. Savior's like, you should definitely try it out. But yeah, those other three are very good, and
yeah,
they really warp the format around them a lot.
yeah. I mean, I guess maybe we should save this for the end. But like, do you like having those exceptional avatars that are so powerful in the set?
I don't know. Yeah, like early in the format, everyone was upset about it because they're so busted and they're going to lose to them. At the time, I was like, I really think it's interesting for them to be in the format because they're like really cool build arounds. Like, we really want these cool build arounds in limited. Yeah, they probably show up too often. Like, I think it would be awesome if they were at elite rarity, but then when you see them, like, you're still just going to lose to them. But maybe it wouldn't feel quite as bad because at least they like got lucky and opened something really powerful and wasn't just like I think I did the math on it once, and it's like out of an 8-person pod, you'll see like 1.5 of these exceptional avatars opened on average. So 1 or 2 of these will be going around, and that means like I think Necromancer will be in like almost 1 in every draft pod of 8 people or something. So that's not like that's not every time, but it's like almost every time, and that feels pretty bad. So, um, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm kind of conflicted about it because it like I love the gameplay experience, like trying to play against these avatars, trying to build your deck with those avatars in mind. Like, putting that Murder of Crows in your deck is really important because you might face a Savior or a Necromancer. Like, it's good against both of them.
yeah,
Um, but for balance of the game, obviously, yeah, I think they shouldn't be at exceptional rarity, but it's just, what are you really prioritizing? Is it like the fun and the like build around potential, the excitement of opening a Necromancer, or is it more like you want a perfectly balanced draft format?
yeah. I'm kind of at the same point where flavor wise, I think they're cool. Balance wise, I think it's pretty clear at this point that most, if there's a necro or a savior in a draft pod, probably one of those is going to win the draft. Like,
Yeah.
but they are beatable too. I know we've had that discussion before in the past where you know you can draft really well and play really well and still win against them. They're not just auto wins, but definitely an advantage.
All right, and then I'm just going to mention collection because there wasn't really a time to talk about that during the avatars, but the collection is that like in constructed it's like a 10 card sideboard basically that you can wish from with your toolbox and whatever. In limited, I still see people not knowing that this is how it works in limited, but if a card calls out a specific card, you just get that card out of your collection. So if you play a peculiar report, you can just cast a horrible hybrid from outside the game. You didn't have to actually draft one and put it in your collection to do that. But for cards like Toolbox that just say cast an ordinary from your collection, you actually do have to have drafted ordinaries to put in your collection. Um, so yeah, that is how it works in limited. Collection, really cool mechanic. I was kind of afraid of it when I first saw it, especially for constructed. But in limited, it was like a huge win. Like, I absolutely love how they did it. I'm really glad you didn't have to draft the card that you have to get with it, because then there'd just be a bunch of dead cards in the set because you would just like
Yeah,
open a sealed pool and have a horrible hybrid, or have a strange loner or something and not a horrible hybrid to get with it. And then it's just like you just open a dead card that could be really powerful, but now it's just like you just can't play it.
yeah, yeah. It's so good that they ruled it this way. I wish they put a limit. Like, there's still a couple. There's really just one card where you can get infinite horrible hybrids, especially if you have a Necro. But aside from little things like that, it's so good.
All right, let's move on to speed of the format then.
Yeah.
So speed of the format compared to beta and Arthurian Legends, I would say that it is in between. So I think it's like the perfect mid-range format. I think it might be like a little bit faster than what's going to be considered maybe like the true baseline speed going forward. If you wanted to like compare, faster or slower than baseline, I think you would kind of look at Gothic right now. Yeah, it's slower than Arthurian Legends. It's faster than beta. I think that the faster decks have an edge over the slow decks by a little bit. Like, for example, Fire Air is the fastest deck, and it competes with the best decks in the format. And then Earth Water is the slowest deck, and it is, I think, just the worst deck in the format because it's just too slow and doesn't have any good 2 drops.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I'm a very tempo oriented player when I think about really all sorcery and especially limited. And I don't know that that's unique to Gothic, but it's definitely true that I think you can get the tempo is very significant. I do think the other thing about the speed of Gothic, though, is Gothic has a tendency towards stalemate games that other sets didn't have, in my experience. And it's not a huge, like, it's, to me, it's somewhere in the like 25% of the time range, where because it's pretty well balanced, you can kind of end up trading out one for one a lot. Like, there's not a lot of mass removal. And so if no one gets that tempo, then it does become kind of stalematy. And I feel like I've seen a lot of games where you end up in this situation where, like, if there was no time limit, right decision is to never attack. And that's like, I don't know what to do about that. Like, I've been in that game, and it's like, maybe it's probably even like, it's like 1 in 8 games or something where I end up in that situation where I'm like, you shouldn't attack me, I shouldn't attack you. Like, what are we gonna do to break this stalemate?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I felt that way more early on in the format. I've
Hmm.
been really prioritizing since I recognized that about the format that there's all these stalemates. I've been like actively trying to make that not happen. And the
Yeah,
way that you do that is just like be okay just trading your 3 power minion for their 3 power minion. Like, don't wait around for you to draw the answer to their thing or to draw your bigger minion or whatever. Like, I think trying to keep the board clear has been really good for me. Um,
yeah,
because like there is reason to keep the board clear. Like, especially if you don't have specific cards in your deck. Like if you don't have, if you're thinking your opponent might have a Torture Pitchfork or an Onslaught or something like Scatter or
mm,
a Flame Strike, things like that. Like there's things that you just really don't want to build up a bunch of minions on your front line and just like wait around and see what happens because like something will happen. Like eventually your opponent might just top deck something that's gonna crack open the
yeah,
board, like a Witching Hour too. Like I don't know, there's
yeah.
just a bunch of
Witching
cards
hour.
that
Yeah,
you really need to be careful about, and I think you should just trade your minions off when you can and keep the board relatively clear.
yeah. I kind of agree. Like, trading is often the right choice more in Gothic than in other sets, and part of that is just to keep the game fun too. Like,
Yeah, yeah, totally agree. Yeah, I mean, maybe you should try to stall the board out if you have the Onslaught and the Torch and Pitchfork and all that stuff, but
yeah,
generally speaking, I try to keep the board clear.
yeah. The only other note I had is the one for one, like that. There's a lot of removal actually in Gothic, like of varying quality levels, but there does seem to be quite a bit of it if you count the bad removal. But most of it is one for one removal, unless someone messes up their positioning, right? And
Yeah,
so
totally.
that just lends it more to that exchange. So, like, when I'm talking to new players, or like, we have a lot of drafts in our local scene, and I'm always encouraging newer players to participate. And the first thing I say is the 5-7-5 mana curve rule, which is really, with a wiggle room of one. Like, sometimes it's 5-7-6, but that's 5 minions that are 2 mana or less, 7 minions that are exactly 3 mana, and 5 or 6 minions that are more than 3 mana. And that's, I think, kind of the standard curve you want. Like, it is so important in Gothic to play a minion on turn 2 and play a minion on turn 3, or remove. Like, playing a removal on turn 3 can be fine as well. Generally, I'd rather save removal. Yeah, that depends. But because the tempo can really determine the game, you need those 2 drops. You need a critical mass of 2 drops so that you can pretty reliably mulligan into a 2 drop. And then you definitely, like, if you miss your 2 drop, you might not lose the game. If you miss your 3 drop, you're probably going to lose the
Yeah, I
game.
mean, as long as you play something on turn 2 and 3, like, even if it's another 2 drop on turn 2, like, that might be okay still.
Yeah.
But yeah, you really do wanna play a 2 drop, play a 3 drop. Um, because, yeah, one of the things I've been realizing about Limited in general, but I think especially it's highlighted in Gothic, is that if your opponent has 2 more minions than you, you're probably gonna lose the game because you're gonna play a minion, they're gonna trade their minion for your minion and then attack you, and then play another minion, and then you're just in the same spot again, but you're at lower life. Like, it's just going to snowball out of control. So if you don't have ways to get 2-for-1s, then you really need to be careful and keep the board at parity at least until you can draw like your bigger minion or your 2-for-1 removal spell or something like that. Because yeah, it's just going to snowball out of control. Like you need to have the same amount of minions as your opponent, otherwise you're going to lose.
Yeah. And I think those 3 mana, 3 power minions really are the heart of the format because they're the hardest. Like, it's really easy to get enough 2 mana minions, and it's kind of not that difficult to get enough 4 mana or more minions. Like, there's definitely really good ones that you want to prioritize highly, but having that critical mass of 3 for 3s, I think, makes a huge difference. Lends itself to double spelling later in the game, and like 2 3 power minions can block almost everything in the format with only losing one of them.
Yeah, I totally agree with the curve that you laid out. Like having 5 2 drops so that you reliably play something on turn 2 is basically the main point. Like 2 drops
Yeah.
obviously fall off a bit later in the game, some more than others, but and then having 6 or 7 3 mana minions is really what you want to get to. Like if you're in pack 3 and you only have like 2 3 drops, like you better take every single one you see basically. Like it is really that
Hmm.
important over every single other slot. Like the 3 drops are extremely important. Um, I'll make one note that again, Necromancer has the edge here because you can just not have 2 drops basically and just still play
Yeah.
skeletons every turn. So even if your curve sucks, Necromancer is just going to solve that for you. And then I guess we
Well,
should mention Savior as well because like Savior, you have all these 1 drops that you want to play because you can play a 1 drop on turn 2 and put a ward on it. That's just super super powerful.
yeah, the townsfolk are
So yeah.
so good in Savior.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's the curve. I guess we didn't talk about the high end. So,
Yeah.
like, I avoid cards that cost more than 6 mana. Like 10-ton slug, you and I debated early on if we should play it or not. Where have you landed on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I don't remember what our debate was exactly, but I was probably high on it early in the format and then decided eventually, oh, this is not what you should do. Like I thought water was pretty good early on and yeah, unfortunately like the Gothic format is slower than Arthurian Legends, but it's not so slow that you can actually play a 7 mana 7 power minion and feel good about it. Yeah, like you really want to be drawing spells for your turn, not sights, which means like a 10-ton slug comes down on like turn 10 and that's just way too slow.
Yeah,
So yeah, I also prefer not to even play 6 drops if I can help it, but I'm not like afraid to. Like an undesirables or a Shogoth will sometimes make my deck, but if I can cut them, I will. If it doesn't like hurt my total amount of minions in my deck. Um,
yeah,
yeah, like even like coming down on turn 8 is like pretty damn slow. So
yeah,
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on the 6 mana minions because it also allows you to sometimes not have to draw that sight. Like I kind
yeah,
of default to trying to draw my 4th sight and playing it on turn 4. But it's becoming a bit more of a gray area if that's right, or if you should just not ever draw a sight for turn and just really try to use your avatar, because that's part of what I think. I assume you agree with this, that like the amount of 3 mana minions you have, like if you want 7 3 mana minions, one of the benefits of that is that turn 3 you can play a 3 power minion, and then on turn 4 you don't really need to draw a sight because you can just play another 3 power minion and just keep cruising along and drawing spells for turn. So yeah, I think that is a real benefit
yeah,
that has come to light in this Gothic format.
yeah. I prefer to never draw a sight per turn if I can pull it off, and like especially with removal too. Like a lot of the time, like if you have a trial by fire, buried alive, or something like that, your turn 4 play is just remove their turn 3 play and start swinging with your turn 3 play, you know? So, yeah, I like a lot of times I'll run a single 6 mana minion. It often ends up that, like, you can play it eventually, but I would almost never want 2 6 mana minions in my deck, because if they both end up in your hand early, that's painful.
Yeah, and I think it's like specifically the minions. Like magics, I think it's a little bit more likely that you want to play 6 and 7 mana magics because they're really powerful, like Call the Sea and like Corpse Explosion. Like I'll play Corpse Explosion because like I'm okay with drawing that seventh sight and getting a 3 for 1 or four for
Yeah.
one with it, you know? So yeah, it has to be really impactful, and like a 10-ton slug is a 1 for 1. Like if your opponent just smites it and then plays a 3 power minion, like you just lost the game. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, let's
So
talk about the elements. I feel like we've been skirting around it, right?
yeah, yeah. All right, so I have my element ranking. We're gonna talk about them in the order that I have them ranked, but you can give me your ranking. Do you want to give your ranking at the end or at the beginning?
I mean, I'll say my ranking is slightly different than yours. I switched the middle two.
Okay.
So I would
Okay.
rank earth, fire, air, water as best to weakest, and I know you would switch those middle two.
Okay. Yes, I'm at earth, air, fire, water. So not too
That's
different.
fine.
And honestly, in my spreadsheet, I think I switched them around once because I think it's
Yeah.
like really close between the
Oh,
top
it's so
two.
close. But earth and air are both just, you basically want either earth or sorry, air or fire. Air and fire, you want one of the two of them, and then you want, like, ideally you want one of those two and then one of earth or water. Really, you just want to be earth plus either fire or air. Like, those are the best decks.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Earth specifically. So Earth is kind of like the mortals themed element in this. Like we've never really
Mhm.
had that as a thing in previous draft formats. So that's really cool. So it's kind of the mortals theme. So it goes best with Savior because there's just a lot of mortals. There's the least amount of evil in this element. And I think like the standout thing about Earth is it just has like really powerful ordinaries. Like maybe like 3 of the best ordinaries of the whole set are all Earth. So
Yeah,
it's Gift of the Wolf, Buried Alive, Smite as like really powerful magics that are 2 for 1s or just like really good removal. And then there's Monks, just a regular 4 mana 4 power minion, and then Zombie Horde, which is like an Amazon Warriors, but with a little bit of downside. Yeah, I think they're just extremely powerful ordinaries. Everyone knows it. And another great thing about Earth is that it has the most amount of 3 mana 3 power minions at ordinary. So yeah, it's just like pretty fantastic. It also just has like pretty good 2 drops. Like, yeah, it's just fantastic. So really good curve, good removal. Yeah, and it pairs well with Savior and also Necromancer, honestly. So,
yeah,
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 hard to complain about Earth. I think like very beginning of the format, everyone could tell just looking at the ordinaries, Earth is pretty dominant.
yeah. I mean, and the quality of the removal, I think, is just cannot be understated. And I find, like, there are drafts where I end up with too much good earth removal almost. Like, sometimes it feels like that if not everyone's in earth. It's like, oh, what? Another buried alive? Another gift of the wolf? Like, do I run 3 gift of the wolf? Maybe that's too many. And yeah, it has the most ordinary and the most exceptional 3 mana, 3 power minions. It's 4 of each.
Hmm.
So it's just so easy to hit your curve. Yeah, I don't know. Earth is the best. There's no way around it. I guess the
Yeah,
downside to
it's
Earth is, at this point everyone should know Earth is the best, so it should be the hardest to draft.
yeah. Yeah, it's the most just obviously very powerful. Like even someone who's pretty new to limited will just look at Earth and know that it's good. So yeah, you
Mhm.
will have to contest against a bunch of other players if you're planning on drafting Earth. So that is the downside. I agree.
It stinks because you're almost always gonna see a really good Earth Ordinary in your when you open a pack, and you're like, oh well, this isn't a signal, right? Like, this is just probability. I'm gonna see one of these 5 easily pack one, pick oneable ordinaries. Like, but then do you take it or do you not take it? Like, I think you just have to take it and then see if Earth is open enough. But
All right, do you want to take air?
for sure, yeah. Air, to me, my tagline for air is super solid. Solid everything across the board. It's got a good number of 3 mana, 3 power minions. I think 3 at ordinary 3 at exceptional. It's got some really good 2-drops. Things like Willing Tribute, which is a 2-drop, which you can play, like is still good late game, is so nice. And then like Broomstick Witch is kind of a dream 2-drop as like an airborne spellcaster 2 for 2. It's like Air's one weakness is that it has kind of the worst removal, or like tied for the worst removal with water. Like Kiss of Death looks really good when you first see it, but it's very hard to position it. It goes really Broomstick Witch is kind of your best friend for Kiss of Death, because it can't get intercepted and it can move on top of things. Definitely the Murder of Crows is like the standout removal in Air, and like you always want a Murder of Crows in your deck if you're playing Air, but it kind of hurts to run more than one. Like I definitely don't run more than 2 because you can't deal a death blow with it. It's not really good at dealing with bombs. Like it's more just for like board clear and like fancy trick. Like you can do like a lot of times with Murder of Crows, you can end up doing like a 3 for 3 or a 2 for 2 by like sort of being clever.
Yeah, I agree about the removal. Like, I think Bone Spear was meant to be like the lightning bolt for this set, but there's
Yeah,
just not enough skeletons, I think, to make it like that free. And even if you have a bunch of skeletons, like giving up a skeleton and a card is kind of tough
yeah,
sometimes. So yeah, it's just not as good as it really should be. Like, I don't know. There should be like some other way to cast it, like you pay 2 life or something like that. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I think that would have
And
helped
I
Air a
guess
lot.
you kind of turned me on to this, to be honest. Like I thought Air was bad out the gate because it lacked top end, but actually Dreadwing and Bound Spirit, which were both cards that you were higher than me on in our early discussions, and now I'm very convinced that they're both really good.
Yeah.
Like, those are actually really solid for your 4 and 5 drop slots, and they're ordinary.
Yeah, it was like a resounding thought throughout the community that like, oh my god, like what is going on with Air? Like it has these 2 like kind of good statted minions, but they have these huge downsides. And then like everyone said that Air was the worst. I think I said it too in one of my earliest videos. I was like, yeah,
Mm,
Air is clearly the worst. Like it just has randomly huge downside on its minions. But yeah, like Dreadwing, like you just will take 4 damage sometimes if it doesn't matter and you're at 20 life and you'll get ahead on board,
yeah,
or you'll just discard a sight if it's late in the game because you can just
tap
tap
for a
your
sec.
avatar, draw a sight, discard it. Yeah. You're down like half of a card in that instance. So like, yeah, you're just gonna be able to play it. Like it's not really that huge of a deal. Or if you just have a bunch of spells in hand, like sometimes you will just discard another spell if you can't afford the life and aren't in the late game. Like, I don't know, there's just a way to play Dreadwing that's really powerful, and just 4 power airborne is just extremely good. Like it's hard to
Yeah,
remove. And it's, you can't attack into it. Yeah, it blocks extremely well, it attacks extremely well. Yeah, 4 power minions just win games on their own. So yeah, the fact that we have one at ordinary, like, yeah, it should have a big downside because that's way too
yeah,
powerful of a card. Yeah, and then Bound Spirit, like, yeah, it just works out that like if your opponent has a bunch of 3 power minions and they're attacking you, like they can't just attack the site next to Bound Spirit, even if Bound Spirit can't move to defend, because you could just like move your avatar, attack their 3 power minion with it. Like it's
yeah,
still doing a really good job of defending, even if it becomes disabled if it were to actually defend. So yeah, it just like holds down the board really well. And then there are just like good spellcasters like Flaming Skull and Broomstick, which are just excellent cards that you want in
yeah.
your deck already. And Bounce Spirit's just like kind of a free roll with those. So
Well, and they
yeah.
updated the rule now so that all of those 1 mana relics that turn things into spellcaster, you can drop it on your Bound Spirit, and then it can keep itself undisabled, which was it used to be ruled differently. So that's an important update.
Another thing we should say about Air is that it actually has the best 3 drops in the format. Screamer
Yeah,
and Snallygaster, like they're both just
yeah.
super good cards. Like
Screamer.
Screamer is way better than Mesmer Demon. Like being able to push your opponent's stuff away, and like you could push them to the sides or straight back. Like it's just really flexible, and it plays into air's strengths really well, which is that like air is pretty aggressive, and if you can just tap and push your opponent's minion somewhere, it's gonna take them probably 2 turns to move the minion back and then be able to block your other stuff. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
Screamer's extremely good.
yeah. Knock a blocker out of position. Like Screamer ends up basically being removal. Like Screamer's the best removal in air, probably.
Yeah, it's basically a Violent, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah. I was gonna mention Zap. Um,
yeah. There's
so kind of
that.
funny. Yeah, Zap. Some people actually really like Zap. I'm actually like, I think it's okay. Like, I would play it if I was a little bit low on playables, or if I didn't have a way to end the game, because yeah, like it just you just win the game. Like, is what it says. That's like the
Zap.
only use case for it, basically.
Yeah, Zap makes most of my sealed decks. Right, like when I'm opening a sealed pool, if I end up in air, a lot of the time I end up running Zap for exactly that reason, because air doesn't have good finishers. So it's nice as a finisher, and in a pinch, you can use it as incidental removal. What I really love it for is you've got something big, you attack, they double block, thinking you can only kill one of my two things, but then the other thing is 1 damage short of dying, and then you zap, and then you got to 2 for 2. So, like, there's definitely things you can do with Zap. Often the 24th or 25th card, it gets cut a lot for me.
So at Sorcery Fest, I don't know if you watched that live stream or not, but there were like 2 of the top players were actually splashing Zap in their deck as a finisher, and like no other reason to splash air. They just had 1 or 2 air sites in their deck and just had Zap, and that's how they finished like all of their games, basically.
What? In limited, and
Yeah.
they did well.
Yeah. I think the guy that won the whole event was splashing for Zap.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
I think
Zap.
it's not that crazy.
No, it's not that great. Like as a guaranteed finisher, and that can be, especially if you play your game that way, right, where you sort of let it be a race to door rather than a fight for board control.
So yeah, it interestingly, I think air is actually really powerful. Like, I thought it was the worst element in the format, and now I think it is like maybe actually tied with earth as the best element. Like, according to the win rate data that I've collected, it's actually, I think, a higher win rate than earth right now, probably because earth is obviously powerful and it's being overdrafted a little bit.
Yeah,
But yeah, air is like secretly super powerful in this format.
yeah, I think that's true. I mean, my go-to right now is air water, because everyone knows water's the worst now, and air is still like less tempting than fire to people for some reason, you know? So I feel like fire earth gets drafted the hardest, and so I can get the best cards in air water.
Yeah, so next is fire. This is the demon element. I didn't say for air, but air is the undead. Water is going to be the monster element. But yeah, fire's demons. One thing I wanted to just point out about fire is that there's only one 3 mana, 3 power minion at ordinary, which is Hellhounds, and the other 3 mana minions kind of suck, like Martyrs of Tomorrow and what is the other one?
Or enraged familiar.
Yeah, Enraged Familiar, the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just kind of junky. So that's the thing that really sucks for fire, but fire also just has really good 2 drops. So that is why, maybe like Earth Fire is a really good combo, because Earth has the most amount of 3 mana, 3 power minions. Um, yeah, and then also it's like just very low to the ground. There's literally no 4+ power minions at ordinary, and there's 2 at exceptional. So it's really 2 and 3 power minions like all the way up, basically. So yeah, and then obviously it has great removal. It has Flame Strike, it has Trial by Fire. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, just kind of playing cheap minions and playing really good removal spells is kind of what Fire's trying to do.
Yeah. And I think the power of the 2 drops in fire is really why I think it combos. Like that's why it won out against air to me, is every element except fire has plenty of 3 drops. So as long as you're drafting carefully, you can hit your 3 drops and your 3+ drops. But just that, like having many of the 2 drops in fire be good late game is a huge deal. Like Noxious Corpse is really good early or late. Same with Centerfee. Same with uh, the dog, the hyenas. Like there's even just Wild Fanatic can be so handy late in the game and is great tempo early.
Yeah, Flaming Skull.
Oh yeah, Flaming Skull, great, yeah, right. And then it just has so much removal, and like a lot of its removal is less than great. Like the really good removal are the ones you mentioned, but then there's tons of incidental removal minions, minions that double as removal. Just like Zap, we were talking about with Zap, I'm a big fan of Detonate actually as a card that isn't isn't strictly speaking a good card, but is often needed in your deck and can do a lot of fancy footwork. Like I think Detonate can really be a reliable finisher if you don't have a reliable finisher other ways. And just having the most removal and like a turn two Centipede can single handedly win a game so often. Like I don't know, we've talked about this before, but sometimes you just break their threshold needs early in the game and then they don't manage to play the 3-drop or the 2-drop they needed to early, and you just get to that point where you have 2 minions and they have none, and they're never going to win.
Yeah, I'm still iffy on Centipede. I mean, I will definitely play it all the time. I'm just not sure exactly where to take it in a pack still, because
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, in
I
two
trust you
drops,
though. I know you have more experience than me.
I don't know if that's true. We both play a lot, but 2 drops, 2 drops are easy to come by. Is the reason why it's not like, as much as I do think it's one of the best 2 drops in the game. Like if I had to pick my favorite thing to play on turn 2, it might be Synergy. But what I play on turn 2 is not usually the deciding factor of the game. I just need to play something. So like that's why it's
Yeah.
not that high.
Yeah, I think if any element is like a support element, it's probably fire in this format.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great for support. It's got a lot of fun sort of hidden combos in it too that are like the non-obvious combos. Things like running Detonate with one of the 1 mana relics so that you can buff a minion to do removal, and then if they kill your minion, you detonate your relic, right? And Enraged Familiar with a Persecutor or Flayer, or right, like Enraged Familiar, like I'd never pick it highly, but I really don't mind running it in decks because I can usually find a way to make it do what it want, to make it become a 4-power minion when I need it to.
Yeah, I saw your draft recently. That was you had like 3 enraged familiars and what is that guy? Mazuja Freet that you can
Mizuchi
take
Free,
damage at the
yeah,
beginning of your turn. Yeah.
yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that's a
That
really
that
sick combo.
that was broken.
Yeah.
So water is the monsters element, definitely the sort of the weakest element, but not by a huge amount. Like I feel like we've said it too much now that water is the worst, but it's not bad. It's not like water was the worst in beta, you know. It's still very playable. It's got some of the best elites and uniques, but in terms of its ordinaries and exceptionals, it is lacking a little, right? Like it has a solid spread of 3 power, like it's got 3 ordinary 3 for 3s, which is, you know, tied with air than earth and more than fire. So that's good. It's really got 4 at exceptional if you count estranged loner, or and then it's got remove, like water is finicky is really like the word I feel for water. Like it has a lot of this removal that can be really good if you get it to go off, but then it doesn't always go off. Like Trial by Water, like if you play a water deck and you're running some Trial by Waters, you just need to make sure your front row is all water sites. And then it's like, oh, now Trial by Water is good. But if you had to play a land site forward, then Trial by Water might be dead in your hand, right? And same with like, you know, Instigator Imp is one that I'm often happy to put in a deck, but you really have to like set it up and play around it, and your opponent's probably playing around. Like Abyssal Assault is so good if you have a monster, right? But you have to
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
monster. It's kind of like Harpion Urge and Fire is a card I don't really like because you need to have something else to make it good, and it's the same with Abyssal Assault. I think that's water's weakness, but it does have like water. A lot of the time, you see an incredible pick one in water, right? Like things like Failed Mutation or some of the elites in you, like an Abaddon Succubus can kind of just win you the game when you manage to play it. So
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely the most, yeah, relies on the elites and uniques the most. Yeah,
yeah.
I think one of the biggest weaknesses that I found is just like the 2 mana, 2 power minions, or just 2 mana minions in general. Like they are pretty weak, and we saw the same thing in beta. Like if you just look at all the beta 2 mana, 2 power minions, they all just have abilities that aren't relevant. They're basically just like
Yeah.
blank pieces of cardboard. Like they're so weak. Like they have these abilities that like look like they might be relevant sometimes, and then they just never come up. So yeah, in this format, like we have a couple of those, like Sea Witch and Survivors of Sarava and Muddy Pigs are all just kind of like whatever. Like Muddy Pigs is probably the best one, surprisingly.
Yeah.
And then like Drowned is also just like pretty slow, just like Entombed, whereas like Earth just has other good 2 drops, and maybe it has to play an Entombed. Water, like you probably just have to play Drowned because you need to play something on turn 2. The top end is also actually not that great. Like if you look at all of the expensive minions, like they look pretty impressive, but they all have like big setup costs. So
Yeah.
if you think about all these minions and the setup cost of them, all right. So slimy mutants, you need to have a frog.
Yeah.
Gnarled Wendigo. You know, you need to have something to sacrifice to it, probably like a frog or skeleton or something. Frozen Horror, you need to like play it on a board that you have minions that can like attack their minions. Like there's a setup cost to that. Weathered Trunks, they have to have a minion on your side of the board. Harkening Kraken, they have to have minions in your body of water, and it's still like submerged. Like there's just all these minions that like look pretty cool, but they all have setup costs, and you just like can't waste time hoping that your opponent like just randomly runs into your setup cost minion. Like they like look really cool and they are pretty cool, but they just like don't really work out in a limited format. Yeah, it's like kind of crappy cheap minions and like really hard to play expensive minions. And then the removal is like just kind of okay. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I do think Slimy Mutants is one of my favorite ordinaries in the set. I think it's actually like one, like 4 power is just great, right? And so even when you just have to pay 5 mana to play it, like the difference between a 4 power and a 5 power minion doesn't feel that big to me, or at least not as big as the difference between a 3 and a 4. It's pretty easy to pull a couple tadpole pools. I won't run Gift of the Frog or anything like that, but Slimy Mutant I just think is a solid ordinary that I would play in any water deck. And then there's a lot of fun things you can do where they think they've set things up right, and you end up sort of giving up a card to kill something to use. Like I've turned the crab that gets weaker when there's less voids around. Like I've turned that into a Slimy Mutants before to like they put out a blocker and my crab's now 2 power and they got a 3 power blocker, and then it's like, oh no, now it's 4 power, kill your thing. Like there's a lot of stuff like that you can do, but yeah, water's just complicated. Like it's a very finicky element in Gothic. Definitely the hardest to play.
Yeah, I do agree. And yeah, like I'm not calling any of these cards bad, but the fact that they
Yeah,
all just have like some kind of setup cost just
yeah,
makes it really tricky to actually play, and it does
yeah.
make them worse as a result. So
Yeah, it's not just
yeah.
a monk or a zombie horde where it's like this is just a super solid minion on rate, no complexity. Like it's sort of high payout, but also having a cost. Like Wendigo, when you get a cool Wendigo combo, like when you get Necro or a Tadpole pool, then it's a 5 power for 4 mana, which is incredible. But that's when you get it.
Should we talk about artifacts?
Yeah, I guess yeah, artifacts, and there's a handful of multicolor cards. I don't think all of the multicolor cards are not format defining. You can pass them early and grab them later. And then yeah, the artifacts at the ordinary rarity, I feel like the defining artifacts are Wiccan tools and Torch and Pitchfork, right? I guess Makeshift Barricade is one that you can get. Like that's I think a trap basically, though I've seen people use it really effectively as like removal effectively and things like that. But
For the most part, like if your artifact isn't affecting the board, like that's really the important thing. So like holy water is like obviously an include because you can use it to banish your opponent's huge evil minion, or even just
mhm,
a regular sized one is like totally fine. But the ones that are like a bit in between are like Bullwhip and Meat Hook that like can remove a minion, but sometimes they're just like unplayable, like they have some
Yeah.
setup cost, or maybe you play them and then your opponent steals them and then you're just like completely lost the game basically. So I'm not a fan of artifacts. I think everyone that's watched my channel knows that. Um,
Except for Driftwood Marrows.
yeah, I mean, yeah, the ones that are minions are obviously great. But yeah, the ones that just don't affect the board, I just don't really love. And I think Pile of Skulls is the one that's also like heavily debated.
Hmm.
I don't think it affects the board enough to justify, but I have played against decks that like we just run out of cards basically, and they have a Pile of Skulls in play and they win the game because of that. But I don't think that
Yeah.
kind of gameplay happens that often that I really want to play a Pile of Skulls. But sometimes you do get like half of a card worth of value because you get to banish their Murder of Crows out of their cemetery and you get a skeleton, and then it's totally worth it. Um, but I don't know. I just don't think it happens enough for me to really be convinced by it.
Yeah. I mean, this is a huge topic of debate among me and my local, the other like hardcore limited players. I think everyone, like Pilot Skulls performs quite often, and I still don't like it. Right? Like I see it work more often than I thought it would, but I still would rather play other 5 drops most of the time. Like it's that in stalemate games, it's really good, but I think those stalemate games are like 20% tops. So it's not quite worth it. And I guess the one thing with Holy Water that I want to mention in Earth is that any effect that grants a ward is pseudo removal. So even if you can't Holy Water to banish their thing, sometimes you can Holy Water to ward your thing and then just get to attack in and not trade. So yeah, Holy Water, very good. And then the 1 mana give +1 power artifacts, I think are generally a bad idea, but if you know what you're doing, they can work well. And Torch and Pitchfork just becomes a fight over the torch every time it gets played. But obviously good in Necro and bad elsewhere is where I landed on it.
Yeah, kind of same here. I think it's even like cuttable in Necro because like you don't really want to just have it like sitting on a skeleton token. Like they're just going to be able to steal it at some point. So you have to like, maybe
Yeah.
like put it into your skeleton's hands and then do all your attacks and then like drop it and pick it up with your necromancer again. Like
Yeah.
something like that
Becomes a
can maybe
whole
be okay,
thing.
but that's just
Yeah.
like pretty hard to do. All right, we're going to talk about element pairings. My initial ranking, I'll read through them and then we'll kind of go through each one. So the first one I have is earth air, and then earth fire, and then fire air. As you notice, none of them have water in them. So then the bottom 3 are fire water, water air, and earth water.
Yeah, I think my ranking is pretty similar. I think I would probably put Fire Earth above Earth Air. Like I would switch those top 2. I think it depends on the player. I guess my ranking is for sort of entry level and like general accessibility. Like I think if you feel really confident in your grasp of the set and everything, then probably Air Earth is better than Fire Earth. But Fire Earth I think is just more reliable and lends itself really well to some of the stuff that can happen in a draft, like particularly opening a late Persecutor or Savior. I'd often rather be in Earth Fire than Earth Air.
All right, so I'm going to start with earth air and then we'll go through them. So earth air I just listed as like the most like undead oriented deck. So you have things like Death Knight, you have Barrow White, you have Zombie Bruiser, and then you have Witching Hour. Those are all cards that just benefit you from having a bunch of undead. And like I said, I think air could even be the best element. Um, so I think they're just basically the 2 best elements in my opinion. I know you're saying Earth Fire is probably your favorite deck, and you think Earth and Fire are the 2 best elements. So,
Yeah, very
yeah, no surprise there. I think they're very, very close to each other. Those are definitely clearly the best 2 decks. I think there's a good like little bump in between those top 2 and the rest of them. So, yeah, tell us why you like Earth Fire the most.
So Earth Fire, so one Earth Fire, it's really easy to get the exact amount of removal you want in a draft, and that's high priority. Like I kind of want 6 removal spells in my deck, and especially if I'm trying to get tempo early and keep it, Earth Fire I think is just more. There's just more options of good, cheap, ordinary removal in Fire than Air, and then the 2 drops in Fire I think are the best 2-drop, and then Earth's got the best 3-drops, and well, Air's got the best 3-drops, but Earth's got good enough 3-drops and plenty of them, and then great 4 and 5-drops. I think that's where I end up, and I also like Fire for a lot of the little, like I said, because I think it combos better Persecutor, particularly, which is Persecutor is the avatar that might get passed to me. Like, if you don't open a Savior or a Necro, you're never going to get it, is my assumption. But Persecutor, I've seen show up pick 7, like it's gone around the whole table before late in the game because people don't have a low curve deck and they're like, I'm not going to pull this Persecutor. And Persecutor wants to be Earth Fire, is its favorite element. That's sort of why I think that's the best and what I like about Earth Fire.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think it's just the most like minions plus removal deck. Like
Yeah,
you said, it probably just has the best mix of minions and removal, and that's what limited's all about. Like you just want to be affecting the board with every spell that you cast, and Earthfire is just really good at doing that.
yeah. Fire Air. I guess I would put Fire Air lower. I don't like Fire Air as a deck.
Okay, what's your opinion on that?
So my little note, I said Fire Air looks strong on paper but can disappear in a puff of smoke. Da, da, da. But that's exactly like Fire Air, or like you do have that huge potential for getting the tempo and keeping it and winning, but like you need to do that to win. And I don't like that it's so like that it doesn't have a plan for late game. Like your plan for late game is to hopefully have Dreadwing, and like that's if they like Dreadwing's just not enough to me, even though it's a great 5-drop.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you're afraid of drafting a deck that doesn't have enough top end, basically. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, it has probably like the best mix of like cheap things to affect the board and get ahead on tempo, but it doesn't have the things to like have the reach to finish the game if it
yeah,
goes wrong.
and it doesn't have hard like so like Earth has Smite and Buried Alive. Between Fire and Air, your best true hard removal is Begone, which is exceptional, and then Kiss of Death, which is also exceptional. So like not like having all of your removal be damage base is not ideal to me.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like you're just gonna lose to a zombie horde or a monk sometimes because you just can't
Yeah,
remove it.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I mean I just have had good success with fire air. Like it just is able to get under earth fire and earth air sometimes.
yeah.
And I value that a lot. So yeah, it is definitely more difficult to draft. But if there's an open lane, then you just know you're gonna be playing against one of these like better element pairings that you have to be able to beat. And like I think earth air and earth fire just have really good late game. So it like any of the decks under Fire Air in my ranking, I think, are just going to be worse at beating those decks than Fire Air.
Mm,
So that's why I put it as number 3.
makes sense.
But yeah, the best 2-drops I think is really important. Like Lesser Blood Demon, Forsaken are the two mana 3-power minions that you can just play on turn 2 and be really happy about, and they can
Yeah,
just beat face like really fast. So
yeah. I think that's a fair point. Then I think you put Fire Water as the highest of the water decks. I think that's probably right. Like I like Water Air the best of the water decks because you get your late pick scatters, and something about water air just kind of works in my experience. But I think Fire Water is probably better.
all right, yeah, I knew you were going to bring up Scatter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an okay card. Yeah, I don't disagree with you anymore about it. Like, I think it is pretty good. I can't say I've really played it much, but yeah, I mean, it definitely messes up a board. And yeah, if there's board states that are really messy, like yeah, Scatter can do a lot and probably act as a removal.
Oh yeah,
So
break
yeah,
that stalemate game wide open.
yeah, I was trying to find like what is Water Air's identity really, and I couldn't really find anything. Like it's unfortunate. Like there is an undead deck, but there's not really like a demon deck or a monster deck really.
Hmm.
Like there's like one thing that really cares about demons, and there's like one thing that really cares about monsters, and like that's about it. So like we got some synergy, but it's not like overflowing synergy where you're like building the demon deck or anything like that, unfortunately. But I think we will get there eventually. But yeah, the thing that I found with water air is like I think Feign Death is the best in this deck. Like that's the only like super interesting thing because you have your Estranged Loner, Bladder Blimp, Those Who Linger, and like Muddy Pigs as like all things with good death right abilities
Interesting.
that
Yeah.
you can abuse your Feign Death on. But that's not like a real like theme of
No.
the element pairing. It's just something that you might fall into eventually. Yeah, that was Water Air. Fire Water. Also, it's like I think trying to be the monster deck more than anything else, but it's really just like minions and removal again. It's more defensive than like the Earthfire deck because like water just doesn't have the good 2 drops. So yeah, it's trying to play like kind of a slow game, but water just has like kind of low card quality, honestly, like especially at ordinary. So I think it's pretty hard to pull together, and it's the deck that's trying to play Abyssal Assault the most. But I don't think like I think I've maybe seen Abyssal Assault happen like once ever. Like it just doesn't really come together. It's so hard to play a removal spell that you just literally need a monster in play, and like some of the monsters just aren't that great. So
Yeah. Yeah, very much agree. I think we can kind of just talk about Earth Water too while we're here. Like, I don't think there's much to say. Like, Earth Water is
yeah,
just kind of hard to make work.
yeah. Like your 2 drops are drowned and entombed, and then there's like a couple of good 2 drops in Earth, but then it's really like you're just playing a fully defensive game, and you're just gonna it just doesn't actually work out against the really fast decks like Earth,
Yeah.
Fire, Fire, Air. They're just gonna be able to beat you down and like attack around your really slow minions. It doesn't really have great removal. Like even like one of the best removal spells, Buried Alive, doesn't work great when you have a bunch of water sites.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like pretty awkward. But it's cool that there's like this really slow deck in the format. But if you can't get into the late game, then it's just gonna fall apart. Like it's just really hard to actually cast a 10-ton slug and be okay with it.
Yeah. I do think it's worth, like, it's still having the right curve is still what's going to win you games a lot of the time. And you can definitely, like, Ice Shards is great. Smite is still great. Gift of the Wolf is still so you can still actually have a very strong deck in Earth Water. Like it's clearly the worst, but like that difference between the worst and the best deck is not like you'll never win with the worst pairing. Like you could definitely go all the way with it.
All right, so to sum it up, I think yours is Earth, Fire, Earth, Air, and then what? Water, Air, and then Fire, Air. What? Okay, give me your rating again.
Okay, I guess where I land, yeah, definitely Earth Fire, then Earth Air. Then I would put, if I'm being honest, like if we're not considering sort of pick probabilities, Fire Water, then Water Air, but like in my heart, it's actually Water Air, then Water Fire, and then I would put Fire Air, and then Earth Water. Like I think those two are the worst because they're both one sided. And I'd rather be one sided in the tempo than one sided in the slow, but I don't really want to be one sided.
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting way to put it. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, let's quickly talk about splashing. I basically just never splash.
I don't do it.
Like I tried to find reasons to splash in these other elements, and it's like if you have 2 or more of some of these cards, which are Zombie Horde, Dreadwing, Ice Shards, and Trial by Fire. Like those are just the best cards in
Hmm.
each element that's single pip. And then like Shackle Demon was an elite that I saw that I was like, I would probably splash for one of those, or maybe like that plus a Trial by Fire or something like that. But I feel like it just never comes up basically. And there's really no way to help you splash. Like blooms just don't help you splash.
Yeah.
Like I will still just have to play a couple blooms plus like 2 sites of my splash element in order to actually make it work. Double threshold sites are like really like the fixing site in Gothic, and they don't really help your splash element at all. Like you still need to put 2 of the sites of the splash element in your deck. So yeah, so I'm just really not a fan of splashing. I basically never do it. I think maybe I've splashed 2 zombie hordes one time, and that was it.
Yeah. Didn't make the top 64 at Sorcery Con because I splashed round 1 and 2 just because I opened a Lord of Lies in my sealed pool and I was like, I'm gonna splash for Lord of Lies, and like went down 0-2 and was like, no, splashing is a mistake. I just need to build a solid deck in 2 elements and manage to scrape back in.
I think that's it for splashing. Like,
Yeah, that's all we need to say. Don't do it.
yeah, don't do it. All right, sites. I want to talk about how high do you draft sites because this is something I've been kind of experimenting with. I've been really taking sites a lot lower now. We talked about this a little bit before we started recording, and I think we want to compare them to like 3-mana 3 power minions, which
Hmm.
are like a pretty like middle of the pack thing that you should be taking, like middle to kind of early in the pack, I guess. So I had some examples. So Fertile Earth, I think I'm taking a 3-mana 3 power minion over it.
Yeah, unless I already have a high pip. Like if I got a Gargantula, then I might start picking Fertile Earth above a vanilla 3 for 3, but I won't pick it above a Screamer or something.
And then I've got Dark Alley, and I'll just throw Vast Desert in there too, because I think we're
Yeah.
both on the same playing field here. Like, I think both of those, you should still take a 3-mana 3 power minion over them.
Yep.
Like, these sites are really powerful. Like, a Den of Evil, I think, is kind of
Yeah.
in the same
Yeah.
range. Like, there are
Exactly.
some really powerful sites, but like, you really need to get to 24 spells, and you want to feel good about all of them, and you want to have, like we said, 7 3-mana 3 power minions or whatever. So maybe if you already have like 6 2 drops or something, and that's your only other option, like then I could see taking one of these sites. But it also like depends on how many playables you have, how far are you in the draft, like how comfortable are you to say like I'm just gonna cut one of these crappy minions that I'm like taking this like marginally better card to just replace one of these cards, then it makes sense to take the site. But if you're actually like, am I gonna take this card that's gonna make my deck or one of these sites that are just like marginally good value? I think you should just take the playable spell. That's basically where I am.
Yeah. Though I run into this a lot. Like I'm trying to take sites a little higher right now because I was so low on sites because I really want. But like I think that example of like getting a better 2 drop. Like, do you pick a 2 drop that's better than the 2 drop you're gonna run over a croaking swamp? Like, I actually would. I think the right answer is to take the croaking swamp, especially if it's early in the draft, because croaking swamp opens up your slimy mutant potential. And I see people often draft decks where they play almost none of the basic sites and still have a good deck, right? Like I think if you're doing it right, you really can afford to be drafting sites. Because there are a lot of times where it's like you're gonna hit your curve, and so you can even pass on a Hellhounds to take a Vast Desert, and that's the right choice. But like pack one, I'm probably taking Hellhounds over Vast Desert.
Yeah, I think especially in pack one, we should talk about that.
Yeah.
Like I will often take like if I'm Earth Fire and I see like a horrible hybrids come to me like eighth pick or something, I'm probably taking the horrible hybrids over like a desert or something, just in case I open like a Lord of Lies or a Lilith or something and it
Mm-hmm.
allows me to pivot. Like it's way harder to pivot if you're not doing those kinds of picks than if you're just like, I'm just gonna take only Earth and Fire cards when you're only 7 picks into the draft. It's like there's still time for you to pivot at that point. So I will often do that to set myself up to be able to pivot in pack two if I open something really good.
Yeah, that's thing. I don't know. I watch a lot of times. I'm working when the drafts start on Wednesday, and so I watch your draft instead of playing. And you're very willing to pivot, and I think that's really important to like take your drafting to the next level. Is setting up that possibility of the pivot and not getting too hyper focused on your starting elements.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the more advanced skills to learn is like at what point is it too late to pivot and you shouldn't be making these picks, or when should you actually be setting yourself up to be able to pivot? It's like
Hmm.
actually kind of difficult to learn, but I think if you do enough drafts, like it's a really rewarding skill to learn, and you should definitely go for it.
Yeah, and then I guess we wanted to talk about sort of colorless or off-color sites. I mean, I'd say generally I avoid, like, I want threshold that I'm playing on all my sites. Occasionally, I'll do the Troubled Town thing especially if I'm Savior, because then it's really valuable. And if I don't have any 3 pip, right? Like, if everything's 2 pips or less, you can maybe afford to run one either threshold list site or like one thing like Withering Heights when it's out of element because it's Withering Heights. It's so good.
I think I disagree like a little bit on the Troubled Town thing. Like I think I've been tempted by it before, but then I always am just like thinking about the use cases and I feel like it's pretty bad. It's like if it's on my opening hand, I'm mulliganing it.
Yeah.
So like I'm only really wanting to play it late. Or like if I mulligan into it, I'm really sad. So then I don't want to mulligan sites as much in my opening hand. And then so really the good use case is that I draw it on turn 5 or something when I already have double threshold in both of my elements. And then it's on turn 5, how good is a random 1 mana 2 bar minion, which is not a 0. Like it's still potentially the thing that's going to get you to have 2 more minions than your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
But all of that wrapped up together, I think is just not really a great package. Then I'm willing to go down that road. I think
Yeah.
really it's if one element is super open, like say that you drafted fire and you're one of 2 people that are in fire and your deck is 80% or more fire or something like that. And then you have you're splashing, 5 air cards or something, and you can really get away with I'm gonna cut 1 air site and put in this troubled town, then I could do it. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, I guess that's a bad example because
Bad
it's
example.
earth and water you have to be for Trouble Town. Don't do that. But anyway, in that kind of case where you can actually get away with putting a colorless site in your deck, then it makes sense. But I think even if I just have double pip in 2 different elements, that just means I really want to hit my 4
Mhm.
threshold on turn 4 that I need for all my spells. And just having 1 Trouble Town is just gonna mess that up sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I
I think
guess you
it's
want.
just a trap.
Yeah, it's generally a trap. I think if you have only single pips in one of your elements, or what happened to me in literally the last draft I did, I ended up being able to build a mono earth deck, which felt crazy, and I wasn't expecting it. And I passed multiple troubled towns, and afterwards I was like, I should have taken at least if I late on, where it was oh, I'll just take this air 2 drop because I might be because I was between air and fire for my second element and was mostly picking earth cards, and then sort of oh wow, I'm going to be able to pull off mono earth. I wish I had taken those troubled towns because then it would be great.
Yeah, it's like the leyline henge in Arthurian Legends kind of
Oh yeah.
dream that almost never comes together, but if it did, it would be really good. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
less of a
yeah,
trap
the
than
other
leyline
ones,
henge. Oh yeah, there's some
yeah,
other ones.
yeah. Yeah, the other ones that I think I will just always play pretty much. I mean, depending on your threshold, still a little bit, but I'm definitely way more willing to play a Wuthering Heights or River Rapids, even if I'm not in those elements. I would really like to do that.
Especially with corruptor freak or something like that. It's just awesome. What about the cities? I mean, those are low. I feel like the average drafter is probably just taking uniques when they open them, if they're good uniques, because it's just a valuable card if you're doing pay
Yeah,
per
I
draft.
I agree. Yeah.
But
Yeah, City of Glass, City of Souls, I think are the 2 that are actually maybe playable, but also I'm not going to take them as high as the average person, so probably won't happen. But yeah, I think
yeah,
those 2 are sites that I would play. Like if you get 2 mana per turn out of one of these sites, it's really powerful, and they both have downsides, but I've just seen City of Souls snowball, and you just never are really in an opportunity to attack that site.
yeah,
So yeah, I think those are pretty good, and I would consider those. Apex of Babel is the other one that I wrote down, and that was just funny. If you ever
yeah,
open an Apex of Babel, I think I'm first picking an Apex, and then even if I'm not exactly Earth Air, if I'm just Earth and I can pick up 1 or 2 base of Babels, I'm definitely putting that Apex in there because I've
yeah,
played it in Cube, and I'm really high on Apex of Babel right now in Cube because the ability to play a site, draw a spell, cast a spell for free is just gonna win you the game. If you ever
yeah.
pull it off,
Well,
it's
especially
so
in
good.
cube where every card in your deck is super powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I guess that's true. I don't think I have an Apex of Babel, so I would always pick it just to get it for my collection. But
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think that's really real.
Okay, let's move on. So, final thoughts on Gothic. We have a few extra little topics here. So, is Gothic a Prince or a Pauper format? Which means, is it more defined by the ordinaries and exceptionals, or is it more defined by the elites and uniques? I'll go first on this one. I think it's a bit of both because, on one hand, Necromancer and Savior are kind of defining cards of the format, and they're an exceptional, so you really need to be thinking about them, and they can just they're just the best cards in the entire game in the format at least. But on the other hand, there are just extremely powerful elites and uniques kind of all over the place. So I think it's a mix of both. I think if Necromancer Savior weren't in the running, I would maybe call this more of a Prince format. Although the ordinaries and exceptionals do have a lot of play to them, so I think it's a really good balance. But I don't know. What do you think about it?
I would definitely call it a Pauper format. So it's funny to hear you say that. All of the elites and uniques in Gothic are nice to haves. I think you play too much Cube, where like you've played games where you get like multiple of a Gothic unique or elite, and then it starts feeling crazy. But in actual Gothic drafting, even the best uniques and elites in the game don't necessarily win you the game, right? Like I see people lose with Gargantula all the time, and Gargantula is without a doubt like, in the top 5 cards in Gothic, right? For limited at least. And I think period, right? But it's just I don't know, I always think about the interview they did with I think his name's Mike, who won the Sorcery Con limited championship, and was just sort of like the discussion was just sort of like, yeah, I just kind of like kept playing 3 mana 3 power minions, and that's how I won, right? Like a Moss Troll won me the championship, and I think that's true most of the, like very rarely do I see the defining feature of a limited Gothic game being an elite or unique card. It's always the exceptionals and ordinaries. I think it's a very Pauper format, though I do like yeah, the exceptionals and uniques are high impact. Definitely, there's things like Corpse Explosion, Call of the Sea, Abaddon Succubus that will really define the game when you get it. But
All right, yeah, I guess you are right. I'm kind of looking through them right now, and it is like there's a couple extremely powerful things in each element. And then if you look at water, it's like, well, that's kind of like water's identity almost is like these really good water elites and uniques.
yeah,
Um, but even air, like yeah, there's like a few really good ones in each
yeah,
element.
yeah. Like you get a
But yeah, they don't
Sturmgeist, that's
necessarily
great.
define
But
the format.
yeah, and I don't think about them that much. Actually, the cards I think about the most that are not exceptional or ordinary are the elite artifacts, like Sentinel Trap, Tombstone Warden. There's some other examples. Even like Hemogolem was one that we've discussed. But like, there's actually a lot of, and because they're artifacts, you can play them in any element. Right? Like Tombstone Warden is a great pack one, pick one, or Sentinel Trap because it's just good in every deck, right? And it's kind of a blowout card. Blade of Thorns, yeah. So even Arbalist or freaking the ordinary one. There's the demon that whips ordinary minions, and then there's the Earl of the Ivory Tower that's immune to ordinary spells. Like those elites are interestingly powerful. Those are actually, I think, two of the strongest Prince cards, particular to limited, because in limited there's so much ordinary everywhere.
Yeah, I guess I was gonna compare them to Beta and Arthurian Legends. We can
Yeah,
maybe agree on that. I think Arthurian Legends is definitely Pauper, and
yeah,
then Beta is like more of a Prince set.
hmm
Like the ordinaries are pretty junky. Some of the
yeah,
exceptionals are really good, but like the elites and uniques are the thing that really define that format.
yeah. I think you're right about that.
All right, we want to rank the sets. So how would you rank? I don't know, like your experience, your enjoyment of these different formats. So like I have Cube, Beta, Arthurian Legends, Gothic as the four we can rank.
I mean, I would also put combo AL beta because that's what I played a lot of when I first started. Because I started in the age of AL, but everyone was playing the combo, and I would definitely go. Gothic is the best, without a doubt, to me. Then probably my second favorite is combo AL beta, and then Cube, and maybe it goes beta. And I guess AL then beta. Beta is pure beta is rough. I think
Yeah.
both of them have major downsides. Like AL just got old so fast. Like even as someone who didn't play it much, like when it came out, because I wasn't playing yet, like it's just so one dimensional. But at least it's kind of still interesting. It just is a little one dimensional. How about you? Where'd you rank them?
Yeah. Yeah, so I will put Cube at the top. I mean, I'm pretty
Yeah,
biased for
you love
Cube. I
Cube.
absolutely love Cube. It's just like so much variety that you can do. But yeah, that's not really a real draft format anyway.
Yeah,
Uh, and then Gothic, I think, is my next favorite. Like they've really upped the game for limited by releasing Gothic, and it's just a really really great limited experience. And then yeah, I think I would put beta plus Arthurian Legends, that mix, as next, because yeah, I drafted that so much. Like that was just the default way to draft for so long. Yeah, really good mix of those two sets there. And
Hmm.
then I would put Arthurian Legends next because the gameplay is really really good. I think the draft
Yeah,
experience is really poor,
yeah,
but all of the play that you can do with lances and stuff is just super interesting to me. So I
yeah,
know people don't like love that format, but like there's so much depth to the gameplay you really get in these really tricky board states that if you do the wrong thing, you're gonna lose the game. So like you better
yeah.
be careful, but it
Your
is also
decisions
just like
matter. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then I'll put beta because yeah, beta is just kind of I don't know. Like it feels really bad to have so many unplayable cards in the set. And then like if you're drafting true beta, then like Sorcerer is going to get opened like once in every pool of 8 players or something, and that just wrecks the format for me. Like Sorcerer is
Hmm.
way too overpowered, and I know that like wasn't even like part of the card pool
Yeah,
when they had the draft format because it was the default. So yeah, I feel like that kind of ruins that format. But you know, it's the first format. It wasn't really meant to be drafted, honestly. Like anyway, so yeah, that's my ranking. I think Gothic they did such an amazing job with this format, and I hope they keep up in their game because it's been really great.
yeah. Agreed.
One great thing about limited I just wanted to mention is that like you know, if constructed goes to crap, like limited always is just going to be here. Like they're just going to
Hmm.
keep releasing sets, and like if there are problems in constructed that compound over time, like that just doesn't happen in limited because they just release a set. It's its whole contained format. And I just want to put that out there for those constructed players that don't
Yeah,
pay too much attention to limited. It's like if you start getting tired of constructed and you want to keep playing sorcery, like this is the place that you will always be safe in.
and it's everything you love about sort. Like that's why I strongly prefer limited. Is like the mechanics of the game are what matter in limited. Like in constructed, we've already kind of hit the point where it becomes more about the mechanics of the cards and the way that the deck works as like an engine, right? Which is a fun, interesting thing. But, in limited, it's just that like raw where you put stuff and how they interact. And it's all, I don't know, I just feel like it's what drew me to the game. Like it will always feel like sort of sorcery in its distilled form rather than sort of these meta things. Yeah, I agree. I think
Yeah,
limited great, and you don't need to collect. Like that's why. I mean, even in other games, I was like in Magic, I only played limited because I didn't want to collect the cards. I wanted to play the game, and that's what's great about limited is you don't have to own good cards or invest a bunch of money. You can just go play limited.
yeah, it's just the truest form of like any TCG to just open
Yeah.
packs and be able to play the game with the packs you opened.
Yeah, and you like there was a 2/2/2 chaos sealed at our LGS, and someone opened the Curio Avatar of Fire, and like like yeah, opening packs is really fun, and cool things happen. Someone got a foil Necro in our last draft and went undefeated,
That's nice.
double win.
Yeah, wow. All right, and then I wanted to rank them by like how advanced they are, like how beginner friendly is
Mm,
Gothic compared to the other formats. And I listed them from most advanced to least advanced. So I put Cube obviously is the most advanced. You have to know like every card that exists basically to
yeah,
play Cube. It's really diverse format. It's hard to learn. It's hard to even make like that format overview and actually know like what's going on.
yeah,
And then Arthurian Legends I put as the next most advanced because of the gameplay, not because of the draft. Because yeah,
yeah.
like we said, if you make one bad decision, you might just lose the game. Uh, Beta is also kind of advanced because like there's just it's hard to get to 24 spells sometimes, and that just feels really bad. And then I would put Gothic as like the least advanced, like most beginner friendly format.
Hmm.
Like you're just gonna be able to put a playable deck together, and you're gonna feel okay about it. Like as long as you just draft cards that affect the board, you're gonna have a good time.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I would do the same ranking. I do think, yeah. So we were talking a little bit about how Gothic is great for newer players, and we wanted to take like a brief moment of like, here's the important things if you're like a new player who's not super familiar with Gothic or not super used to Sorcery Limited. Here's some headlines you should know about, doing your first Gothic draft, right, or sealed. I think the obvious first one is get those 3 mana 3 power minions. I feel like it's come up a lot, and it really is like the the core thing is having. I actually had someone who watched a different video I did come up to me and was like, "Hey, like I played my first draft ever of Gothic, and I had just watched your video, and so I just got a bunch of 3 mana 3 power minions, and I won the draft." you know,
Yeah.
like yeah, that's kind of what you need to do. There's also a bunch of trap cards. Like, what would you say? Like the cards that sort of look shiny but don't play them are.
Well, I've always said like 1 power minions just suck. Like
Yeah,
you mentioned this to me, like the 1 mana 1 power minions, the Displacer Kite, and whatever the Grief Larva,
yeah,
the ones that like ping the site. Like those are just so bad. Like they're
yeah,
just gonna die for no good reason. You're gonna be down a card. Like maybe you did some damage, but like
yeah,
if you ever top deck them after turn one, basically, like it's just completely dead. So just don't play those cards. They are not good at all.
yeah,
Basically, any 1 power minions are just pretty terrible. They'll just die to a desert or a flare or just any random minion is just going to take them out. So
yeah,
we care about our card advantage, and a 1 power minion is just not worth a card. And then basically, like the fundamental thing is just don't play cards that don't affect the board. So if you play landmass that just puts a site into play, you're just
yeah,
down a spell. You took your turn off to just put a site into play instead of playing a minion. Like you just want to be playing minions or removing your opponent's minions. That's what affecting the board actually means.
yeah.
So yeah, minions and
Minions,
removal.
minions.
That's all you
Like
need.
you want to play
Yeah.
minions and kill minions, and that's sorcery, especially unlimited.
Yeah, I think the next trap that I see people fall into is just playing one of these avatars you just shouldn't be playing, like the
Yeah,
elite and unique avatars. Just don't play those,
yeah,
basically, and just don't play Harbinger. Probably just play
yeah,
only those core three exceptionals. Necromancer, Savior, and Persecutor. Otherwise, just play Spellslinger. Like, don't
hmm,
underestimate the fact that Spellslinger starts with an additional card. That is a
yeah,
big game.
yeah.
It really is.
And don't forget to draw your extra card. That happens a lot
Yeah,
too.
that's true. Yeah, Spellslinger has text on it. Don't forget about that.
Yeah. And then yeah, I think the last thing is just expensive. Like 7 mana is kind of too much for limited. Like maybe 1 7 mana card in your deck if like if it's a really really cool card, but even 6 mana is kind of a lot, and don't play too many expensive cards. That's an easy mistake to make.
All right, that wraps up our Gothic format overview. While no format is ever completely solved, we've had 8 months to draft Gothic. I think the community has a pretty good understanding of what consistently works and what doesn't. If you have a different take on the format or think we missed something, let us know down in the comments. We'd love to hear what's been working for you. If you enjoyed the video and want more, consider subscribing and supporting me on Patreon. I live stream my weekly drafts, release strategy guides, format overviews like this, and I host a regular online draft. So if you join the Sorcerer Summit Discord, you can test out your skills there. We draft every Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. But if you can't make that, maybe you can watch back my live streams. Because yeah, lots to learn over there on the weekly drafts, and just a great community. Also, subscribe to Portland Stew channel, Sorcery 102 podcast, where I'm gonna list you as a collaborator. So if you click subscribe, you should see both of our channels come up. So obviously, go over there and check out his videos too. But yeah, thanks for joining me, Stu. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, great to be here.
All right, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.